All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is your final 9 FERP. These are the 9 questions. For those of you who weren't here on Thursday, your test is tomorrow. 9 questions. This is just a review of the basics. Press pause and fast forward, whatever you need to do to see if your answers are right. Here we go. First question says -1/2 plus 3/8. Now remember, when you add and subtract fractions, the secret is you need a common denominator. Right? So if you're not having a common denominator when you do this, you're going to do it wrong. And that's the first thing you have to remember. The second thing you have to remember is anytime you have mixed fractions, always change them to improper. It makes it so much easier. Those are the two things to kind of remember when you're doing this. So the first question, -1/2 plus 3/8. I'm going to change my mixed fractions to improper. It's going to be -3/2. The third thing you need to remember is always keep your negative sign in the numerator. Right? That's a good rule of thumb. Just always keep it in the numerator. It makes things easier. Plus 3/8. So first step, I just changed mixed to improper. Second step, I need a common denominator. The first multiple that 2 and 8 share, if I was to look at it, would be the number 8. So 8 is going to be my common denominator. Now for those of you who are using 16, no problem. 16 just means that when you get to your final answer, you're going to have to reduce it. It's always easiest to work with the simplest of numbers, and the lowest common denominator keeps that true. That one doesn't change, so 3/8 stays 3/8. The equivalent fraction idea, I needed to do this, so my numerator will be -12. These two fractions, just to remind you, are, oh, that's not what I wanted to do, is you are going to write, oh, that's not what I wanted to do either, oh, for heaven's sake. Okay, let's try this again. You're going to keep your numerator and add your denominator, just like that. And then the -12 plus 3 is a -9. And therefore, your answer as a mixed fraction, that's the fourth thing you need to do. Always change from improper back to mixed. That's mixed, not maxed, at the end. So improper will become maxed. And your final answer is -1 and 1/8. Second question says 3/5 take away 1 1/4. Again, we're adding and subtracting, which means we need common denominators. But before we do that, since this is mixed, we're going to start first step and just change that fraction to improper, and we're going to keep our negative sign in our numerator. Once we have that, we're going to do step 2, which is find your common denominator. Between 5 and 4, your common denominator is 20. In order to achieve that, this is what I did. So 3/5 and 12/20 are the same thing. And again, just as a side note, if I wanted to prove to you that those two numbers were the same thing, I could convert them both to decimals. 3 divided by 5 is decimal 6. And if I do the other one, 12 divided by 20, guess what? It's also decimal 6. They're equivalent fractions. They're just different denominators and numerators. Take away, here 4 times 5 gave me the 20, so therefore I have to do up here. And I get -25. Once you have that, your rule says keep your denominator, and this time subtract your numerators. Remember, this is a takeaway sign. I'll highlight it for you. Takeaway sign, negative sign, negative sign. Because I have a subtraction and a negative sign, I have to put brackets around it to separate them. I know that I'm going to keep flip change. That's how I subtract. And I end up with 37/20. And our last step, if we have an improper fraction, is change it back to mixed, which is 1 and 17/20. Third question says estimate and calculate. So estimation, you're going to round to the nearest whole number or the largest place value. In this case, 1.4, when I estimate, will just become 1. And -5.2 is closest to the whole number, -5. So my estimation will be a +6. You keep flip change, you get +6 as your estimation. For your calculation, you're going to first keep flip change and say, what do I have more of, positives or negatives? The answer is I just have positives. So to solve it, I'm actually just going to add them up, right? 6, 6. Your calculation is 6.6. Next question, we're adding negatives and positives. First thing is to estimate. Remember, we're rounding to the nearest whole number. So -4.8 will become -5. Positive 5.64, it's closer to 6. So my estimation is going to be approximately the number 1. When I calculate, I'm adding, what do I have more of, positives or negatives? I have more positives. How many more will be the difference between how many more positives and negatives you have. Remember, when you are adding or subtracting, line up your decimals. There's a decimal, there's a decimal. If there are not enough place values, put a 0 down. 4 take away 0 is 4. 6 take away 8, can't do it, borrow. 16 take away 8 is 8. So my actual calculation is a positive, well, we're going to bring this down here, positive 0.84. Estimate only, it just says estimate only. So remember what we have. We're going to say this is how much money you have. And this is always going to be divided into piles, divided into piles. And this is how big they're going to be. Now, since that is an amount of money that I'm not comfortable with, I'm going to actually make that into piles of 50 cents, right? Size of the pile. This is your size of the pile. So if I have $12.50, ignoring the signs, we're not even going to pay attention, divided into piles of 50 cents. That's how I'm going to estimate this. If it was $1, I could make two piles. If it was $10, I could make 20 piles. Therefore, it'd be 25 piles is how many I think I could make. So therefore, my estimation, since a negative divided by a negative is a positive, my estimation is 25, right? Positive 25. If I go back in the calculator and put in just to check it, and I go, okay, what is 12.5 negative divided by 0.48 negative equals 26.04, which is pretty close to my estimation of 25. So therefore, that is your answer. Our next question says estimate and calculate. So my estimation will be 5 times negative 11. That's what, if it's 5 or greater, it rounds up. So that's what I'm going to get. So my estimation will be negative 55, approximately. Use a little dot above it if you want to. And then your calculation is you drop all your decimals. This says 3 place values, it says 2. So I'm going to just put 105, no decimals, not even negative signs, and 51, no decimals, no positive signs. And then I'm just going to multiply it using the algorithm. 1 times 5 is 5. 1 times 0 is 0. 1 times 1 is 1. Second number, second space, started second space, 25, 0, and 5. Add them together, you get 5, 5, 1, 5. Since my estimation was negative 55, my calculation will be negative 51.55. That's the only place you can put the decimal to make it closest to your estimation. And once you have that, take your calculator, double check your work. So it's 5.1 times 10.5 negative equals 53.55. Oh, sorry, that's not right. Did I do that right? Yeah, 53.55. No, hold on. Did I make a mistake somewhere? Maybe I made a mistake. No, I can't have made a mistake. All clear. Let's do this again. 10.5 times 5.1. Oh, please, Lord, don't make me a mistake. They're all watching me. Oh, I did make a mistake. Where did I make my mistake? 10.5, 5.1. 501, 25. Oh, I forgot to carry my 2. Shoot, that was a 3. I forgot to carry my 2. I'm a banana head. Anyway, that's how you do it. Your next question is BEDMAS with fractions. You have 2 operations here. You have an addition and you have a multiplication. When 2 numbers are next to each other with brackets, that means multiplication. That's the first thing you're going to do. So this stays as the first, that stays right there, it doesn't move. This is going to become something completely different. So mixed fraction, regular fraction, negative 5 over 4 times 2 over 3. Sometimes you can use the dot to make multiplication. And if you want, check for cross reduction. You could if you wanted to, but I'm not going to do it here. I'm just going to go multiply the numerators, multiply the denominators, reduce. Oh, sorry, negative 5 over 6. Both are divisible by 2. Negative 5 over 6 is your final answer. So negative 5 over 6. Now, if you use this one here, no problem. That's okay if you use it there. But again, it's easiest if you reduce your numbers because the smaller your numbers are, the easier the arithmetic is. Now we have the 2 additions, common denominator. This doesn't change. This one will definitely change. And now we know keep your denominator, add your numerators. The answer is going to be negative 2 over 6, which in lowest terms, because we can reduce this, will be negative 1/3. Next question, we have 3 operations. We have an addition, we have a multiplication, and we have a division. However, keep in mind, this question actually is the same thing as this. So you're going to first solve this, and then you're going to divide your final answer by -2 because it's the same thing. So I'm going to do my multiplications first. This is going to stay as is. 4 times 3.5. Well, 2 times 3.5 is 7. So therefore, 4 times 3.5 will be 14, or negative 14. That's your first step. Add the numerators now. Ooh, they're just adding negatives and negatives. I can do that without a calculator. That's going to be negative 26.25 divided by 2. And hopefully you can do this without a calculator, but if you can't, that's okay. Is it negative 2? It's negative 2. This will be a positive because a negative divided by negative is a positive. Should be negative 13.125. That's your answer. And your last question, take these 3 numbers and order them from smallest to largest. So I'm just going to change them all to decimals. That one's already a decimal. 17 divided by 3. To be honest, you don't need to do this with a calculator. I'll show you why in a second. It's 5.6 repeating. 5.6 repeating, which will be negative. And then negative 4.5 over 9. 5 divided by 9 is decimal 5 repeating. So I know this is going to be easy because, listen, if I thought of this as a mixed fraction instead, it would be 5 and 2/3. If I thought of that as negative 5 and 2/3. If I thought of it as a mixed fraction, which 2/3 we all know is decimal 6 repeating, so we could just have it like that. And some people know that if the denominator is 5, the numerator is the part that repeats to infinity, so we have them like that. From smallest to largest, remember, on a number line, if 0 is here, the smaller numbers are farther from 0, right? So therefore, the farthest from 0 is your smallest number, which means this is my smallest number. So that is going to be written as negative 17/3. Always convert it back to your original number. That's done. The next farthest is this one. It is just slightly more, right? Which means negative 4 5/9 is your next smallest. And then your largest number is that. And that's the answer to your 9 fur.